Yo, 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 what up? Mr. Two Nation, aka Savage Armor Jones Giraffe, coming at you with Deck Building Wednesday. Yeah, it's supposed to be Deck Building Tuesday, but honestly, I had so much computer troubles, and for some reason, SendBuster wouldn't upload to my Photoshop for some reason. I don't understand how that works. Nobody understands how that works. Just know that I had a lot of computer trouble, a lot of frustration. So instead of uploading on Tuesday, I uploaded it on Wednesday. I'm not going to be uploading these on Wednesday that much, so don't get used to it. I'm always trying to upload these on Tuesday. So, hence the word Deck Building Tuesday, because it wouldn't make no sense for me having a series called Deck Building Tuesday and I upload it like on a Friday or some shit. I don't know. But anyway, today we're going to be looking at a card called Metalborg Sin Buster. This is going to be the whole thing. Now, the first thing you kind of notice is that Sin Buster is a Legion card. So we're going to be Legioning, which, let's be real, is kind of hard to do in premium format. This is because when you try to Legion in premium format, you're losing so much value on doing it. So that's the reason why nobody really tries to Legion. However, I do feel like that Dimension Police was always the exception because Dimension Police always has something that lets you use the Legion, and it always has something where it justifies not, striding into the turn. Plus, there's a very interesting card that they actually have that actually gets past losing a turn on Legioning. But anyway, with that being said, let's read its effects. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if this unit is Legion and the unit's power is 30k or greater, until the end of that battle, your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater units from hand to the Guardian Circle. Then, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if this unit's power is 20k or greater, until the end of that battle, this unit gets, when this unit attack hits, draw a card. So, you have a guard restrict and you have a possibility of drawing a card. Now, this card back in the day was very good because at the time that this card's released, G guards didn't exist. So you had to solely depend on 10k and 5k triggers, basically. And while although they do kind of help sometimes, at this particular time you weren't getting enough triggers in hand in order to in order to defend against everything that this deck could throw at you. So because of that, this deck was very good. Even getting up to being this a runner up in the 2015 Bushy World Series. The only reason why it didn't make first place was because the first place winner was running Aquaforce Ripples and playing a grade 2 rush game. Because of the grade 2 rush game, this deck failed dramatically. Not only having a way to stride, but also not having a way to Legion. And because of this, that particular event is the reason why Sea Breeze exists. So, um, I had a few ways I was going to build this deck. One of the ways was I was going to put Kaiser, and if you break right into Kaiser when you dry check at grade 3, you get to choose one of your opponent's shields and break it. Even if it's a perfect guard, it destroys the nullification. I mean, nullification. I think I'm saying that right. Nullification. So yeah, it destroys the nullification, and it basically just made your opponent waste way too much hands. Sometimes your opponent will usually like use all of their perfect guards in that one particular attack is that particularly stupid. However, just like Legion, break riding is also very weak, and brake riding is also very slow as well. There has to be some justification in using it, and I felt like that the Die Kaiser build wasn't justifying. The second way, I actually wanted to use the dimensional robo thing where you actually get to grade 3 faster than most of your opponents, kind of like how the Ezel thing is going. However, I feel like that because everything has to be a strictly dimensional robo, that means you have to make 80% of your deck dimensional robo, and it'll be no point in making like a dimensional robo deck like featuring like the Metalborg, Legion. I think that that wouldn't make any sense, and it's like you might as well just make dimensional D robos altogether. So what I did was I used as inspiration the runner up, which his name is Simon McGoldrick. I like his deck name. It's called Zalvarado Safarian. Is that a JoJo's reference? Anyway, I used that as an inspiration, but I couldn't use too much inspiration for a couple of reasons. One thing is 98% of the cards that's in his deck is kind of useless right now. But and the second thing is you notice that there's only 8 cards in the G zone. Well, this is because for your newer players at this particular time, your the maximum that you could put in your G zone was 8, not 16. It only became 16 because of the G Guardians. So, with all that little history being said, our whole strategy is basically trying to get the Sim Buster combo out as fast as possible, and then using Commander Laurel as a as like one of the major things because that's technically what this deck did. However, you also got to remember that the older Commander Laurel is at 1, but the newer Commander Laurel isn't. So we're running one of the old one and 3 of the new one. So with that being said, let's get this started. Our starting Vanguard is going to be Cosmic Hero Grand Hop. He's a forerunner that has a Generation Break 1. You rest this unit. If your opponent's Vanguard is if you or not your opponent's, if your Vanguard is 25k or greater, choose one of your units and it gives 4k to the end of the turn. If your Vanguard's power is 35k or greater, you may put this unit to your soul. If you do, draw a card and countercharge one. The countercharge draw part is basically the main reason why we're not using one of the newer starters. However, I would say worst case scenarios you play a clan like Kagero that can just instantly pop your shit. So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Anyway, our trigger lineup is going to be 4 draw triggers. Those are going to be the PGs of the deck. 4 heal triggers for the new ones. We're going to be running 5 critical triggers. 4 of them being Namazoro, which is the one that goes into the soul and you draw a card in your Vanguard plus is by 10k. And then of course like one of like the regular V series one. If they were going to be running 3 stand triggers, which they're all 3 going to be Operation Girl Rekka. She has the ability of putting herself into the soul, and one of your vanguards gets plus 4k to the end of the turn. After that, when your vanguard attacks, if the attack is 37k or higher, you get to draw a card. So that kind of works in his own in his own thing, and honestly, it's a stand trigger, so you can get more attacks and possibly cheat out Commander Laurel. Speaking of Commander Laurel, we're gonna start off our grade 1 lineup with 1 old Commander Laurel and 3 of the new one. So the old one has the ability of choosing 4 of your Dimension Police rear guards and resting them. When your Dimension Police Vanguard attack hits, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your Vanguards and stand it. Oh boy. So that means you get to stand one of your Vanguards as long as you get the rest 4 of your rear guards. This effect is actually I'm kind of glad that Dimension Police isn't like an XL deck because the amount of shit you can do with this card will be fucking stupid. You can also choose Commander Laurel himself as part of the four too. So that's a thing as well. Next up, we have like the newer one, which isn't as asinine as the older one, but it still works. So Counterblast 1, rest 4 of your rear guards, choose one of your units, and then until the end of the turn, double its power in critical 1. So basically, you will rest 4 units, choose your Vanguard, it will get a +1 critical, and it will double its power off of a Counterblast. And you can also choose that particular Commander Laurel as a rear guard as well. If you really want to be ballsy, and I highly suggest doing this if you have the hand to do it, you would call the OG. Oh no, you would call this particular Commander Rail, rest 4 rear guards, and then use his ability to give like the critical and the double power to your Vanguard. Replace this Commander Rail with the older one, and then have 3 other rear guards so that when your Vanguard attacks, it's attacking with double the power with a critical, and it will restand because of the older Commander Laurel. So yeah, that's a thing. Man, it's a pretty ballsy move, and I highly doubt you'll get it off consistently. But it's one of those things like if it happens, it happens, and when it does, it's amazing. So next up, you have Cosmic Hero Grand Rope. We're playing 3 of that. And Commander Grand Rope is just basically your stride fodder. We got Miss Ghost, which we're playing a playset of, which is going to be the last of our grade ones. And it has the ability to counterblast in 1. And on place on rearguard circle, I can choose up to 2 of my units on the vanguard circle, and those units get +4 to the end of the turn. This is just basically just to power up your vanguard just a little bit more. Yeah, it sucks that it's a counterblast 1, but it's kind of worth it. That's going to be the last of the grade ones. For the grade twos, we're running 4 dimensional Robo Die Dragon. So on the Vanguard and Rearguard circle, for once a turn, you Soul Blast 1, and one of your Vanguards gets +5 to the end of the turn. However, on the Rearguard circle, if your Vanguard power is 35 or greater, this unit gets +10k. Now this is basically until like this is like a continuous ability, so it works like on both your turn and your opponent's turn, which is actually pretty cool in my honest opinion. It's a pretty decent beat stick, which is kind of sort of why we're doing it, and it costs a soul blast instead of a counter blast, so you kind of saving counter blast on that as well. Then we're running 4 of Metalborg Ooh Buster or Herb Buster. I think it's Herb Buster. So when your on a rearguard circle, when your Vanguard is legions, choose one of your Vanguards to the end of the turn. That unit gets +4k. And when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So that means that if Sim Buster hits, you get to draw a card and you get to retire one of your opponent's rear guards, which is actually pretty helpful and pretty dandy when you think about it. It's a decent rear guard, but of course we're using this because he is the Legion mate. Last but not least, we're running a play set of Platinum Ace. Also, on the Vanguard circle, during your turn, this power gets +5. So that means it's a 15k B stick during your turn on a Vanguard circle. In Rearguard circle, once per turn, when it attacks, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, with the power of 30k or greater, you Soul Blast, and this unit gives power +10k and a critical to the end of the turn. So it's another Soul Blast effect, and this gets a built-in crit as long as your Vanguard is 30k or higher, and your Vanguard's at grade 3. It's interesting because the old school Platinum Ace basically had this ability where he has a built-in crit if he's like in a certain like attack or whatever. So that's for our grade twos. For our grade threes, of course, we're running 4 Simbuster. We're running 2 Metalborg Grader. Yeah, Barn Grader. So on the Vanguard Circle, you Counterblast and Soul Blast. Search your deck up to 1 grade 3 with the Legion ability. Ride as stand and shuffle your deck. Choose one of your Vanguards and it gives power 3k to the end of the turn. And then on the Rearguard Circle, you Soul Blast one. If you have a Vanguard with Metalborg and his card name, this unit gets +2 to the end of the turn. So this basically makes it to where you're technically running 6 Sin Busters. Ironic number, but yeah, it basically makes it to where you get your Sin Buster ride no matter what. So I kind of like that about it. So even if you're not on Sin Buster, you still get to somewhat get his ride. Sadly, I kind of wish that the effect was an on play skill. If it was an on play skill, oh my god, this deck would have been a lot more vicious. Last but not least, we have our spicy tech, um, which is Super Dimensional Robo Dizarius. I'm gonna just call it Dizarius. Anyway, on Vanguard Circle, during your turn, this power gets +5k for each card in your damage zone, but it's the rear guard ability that we're really using this card for. So at the end of the battle that it attacked, if your Vanguard's power is 35 or greater, you counterblast one, put this unit into the soul, and one of your Vanguards gives power +10k +1 drive to the end of the turn. Yeah, essentially you're trying to use this ability basically before you attack with your Vanguard. So honestly, it's a pretty decent card, and it's probably one of the more busted cards that came out like recently. Also, this allows you to get a force marker, so if you do decide to write this first, you'll instantly get a force marker on your Vanguard circle, thus getting to 30k or higher very, very quickly if you use Force 1. So that's what I like about it. That's it for the main deck. Now on to the extra deck. So, we are running a total of 5 G guards. I'm gonna start with the G guards first. The first one is the flipper one, which is called Oceanic Transformation Atlantis Dolphin. So you choose a face down G guard, turn it face up. When this is placed on the Guardian Circle during a battle that your opponent's Vanguard attack, you may pay the cost. If you do, this unit gets shield +5k to the end of the battle for each of your rear guards. If this unit's shield is 30k or greater, countercharge 1 and soul charge 1. So it's a pretty decent one. It's not one of the ones you're going to be going into the most, but it's pretty good for what it can do. So, the next one is Gallant Incarnation G05 or G05. I think it's G05. But anyway, you Soul Blast one card with 5k or greater. When this is placed on the Guardian Circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, this unit shield gets +10k to the end of the battle. Then, if a card was put into your damage zone during this turn, this unit gets +5k shield to the end of the turn. So essentially becomes 30k shield if you took a damage that particular turn, which is pretty much the only way you're going to be really using this card in the first place, is if you took in a damage. So it's a pretty decent shield. Sadly, you have to Soul Blast though, but it's pretty good for what it can do. The last one is Super Cosmic Hero X Carnival. So when placed on Guardian Circle, if your opponent's attacking unit power is 30k or greater, this unit gets shield +10k to the end of that battle. Then you may choose a card from your hand and discard it. If you do, choose one of your vanguards and it gives power +4k to the end of the turn. So I will say that out of all 3 of the G guards, this is the best one. So you're playing 2 of that, 2 of G on 05, and 1 of Atlantis Dolphin. Next up, we're going to get into our strides. So the first one we're going to be looking at is Heavy Metalborg Heavy Duke. So this particular card has an ability. We're playing this at 3, by the way. I forgot to say that for some reason. But anyway, we're playing this at 3. And he has the ability of Counterblast 2. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, until the end of that battle, this unit gets Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks hits a Vanguard, draw a card for each of your hard cards. Then, if you have a hard card with Metalborg and his card name, until the end of that battle, your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater cards from hand to the Guardian Circle. So, it's essentially Sin Buster on a Stride body. But I have something a little bit more interesting than this particular card. So what I have is the other metal board card. I don't know why I say called, but a card called Hyper Metal Board Guilt Digger. So, he has the ability of choosing a face down card with Metalborg in its card name for your G zone and turn it face up. If you have 2 hard cards, this unit gets plus 20k power and critical 1 until the end of the turn. If you have 1 hard card and it has Metalborg in its card name, search your deck for up to 1 card that can Legion with that card. Put on the Vanguard Circle as heart card with that Legion with that card, shuffle your deck, and draw a card. So basically, you don't get 4 cards from your drop zone into the back into the deck. I don't think. I have to look at the ruling again, but I believe it doesn't really technically Legion. But it's still, you get to Legion while you're in stride for while you're still while you're still strode. So with that particular thing, you now have a way to cheat into your stride, which is actually something that I think every clan needed to get. To be honest, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, I feel like that Legion format, like, Legions would have survived a lot longer if they got a card like this. Like, if every clan got a card like this, like every clan's Legion probably would have been stayed a little longer than it did. So with that being said, you run 2 of this. Um like I said, it's a pretty interesting way to cheat into Simbuster's thing without losing too much value. So honestly, it's worth playing this card. It's really worth it. And then, like, if you already have 2 hard cards, you get a plus critical and plus 20k. So yeah, that's the thing. Imagine playing this card and playing both Commander Laurels. Oh my god, that would be ridiculous. Then we have Good Boy, Bravest Peak X Gallop. So burst for 1 turn, counterblast 1, choose a face down card from your G zone and turn it face up. When this unit attacks, if this unit's power is 40k or greater, you may pay the cost. If you do, this unit gets plus 1 drive at the end of the battle. If this unit's power is 80k or greater, stand it, and it gets minus 4 drive. Then Generation Break 3. This unit gets power 10k for each face-up card in your G zone. So basically, one of your original finishers was what was it? It was Super Cosmic Hero X Tiger, and he had this ability when he attacks, he gets a power plus 4 for each face-up card in your G zone, and then it gets a plus critical if it's 45 or higher. This is kind of sort of replacement for it, basically because it's a lot faster and it's a lot more efficient. So that's the reason why we're playing this one instead of X Tiger, because this one gets you more results at the end of the day. Then we have our GB8, which is Dimensional Robo Overall Command Ultimate Doubt King. So at GB8, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, this unit gets plus 10k in critical 1 for each of your rear guards until the end of that battle. At the end of the battle, if this unit's power is 80k or greater, all of your rear guards get power plus 10k for each of this unit's criticals until the end of the turn. So honestly, you don't really see yourself going into this that much because, like, let's be real, you have a lot of heavy hitting talent on your in your stride zone. So honestly, it's kind of hard to really justify getting the GBA. But sometimes the matches does kind of get out of hand, and it does drag on a lot longer than it should. So honestly, this is like the next best bet when you really think about it. So last but not least, we have the two other cards, which is the Zerov Dragon and the Progenitor Dragon. The Progenitor Dragon has the ability of counterblasting one when it attacks and increase or decrease the power of all of your opponent's units to zero to the end of that battle. So it's basically a deleter. And then Stark has the ability to counterblast into when it's placed on Vanguard Circle. Until the end of the turn, this unit gets -2 drive. This unit does not rest, and when it attacks, this unit can attack up to 3 times. So you basically get 3 checks. Every one of the checks are very separate. So it kind of works in your favor. Again, I don't really see you going into Stark that many times though, but if you have the opportunity to go into Stark, use it because most of your stuff isn't really GB restricted in your regular main deck. So if you so happen to lose all of your G guards due to not ending it with Stark, you're not completely out the dark. So that's a good. If you lose to it with Stark, you're not completely out the dark. That was unintentional. But anyway, so what are the basic combos of this particular deck? Well, there's only a couple, so there's not too much to really show. Basically, one is to go into um Guild Digger first and then go into Heavy Duke second. And then if you don't really injure your opponent, going to use Simbus's ability last. The second one is to basically use the Commander Laurel combo that I was talking about on anytime your Vanguard is Legion or anytime you have a Vanguard that can gain an extra critical. That way you're hitting with multiple crits and you have 2 Vanguard swings to end everything that your opponent has to do. Thirdly, just try to get the GB8. Again, it's not really necessary to get the GB8 though, but ending it with Heavy Duke or ending it with Dow King is kind of sort of one of the main things. One of the things you also want to do is use this spicy tech, which is Dizaris, to basically put your to basically give all of your things. I mean, not to give all your things, but give your Vanguard plus 10k and an extra drive. So more drives makes it a lot more dangerous, and having OG Commander Laurel on the thing makes it 10 times more dangerous. With that being said, my name is Mr. Z Nation, aka Savage Armor Jones Rafa. Thank you for looking at my Sim Buster deck profile. I know I talked my ears out, everybody's ears out, and all this other stuff. So, with that being said, I'm just going to let you go. Signing out.